Can you give us a story that you haven't told before about your time with Michael or what you remember of him?
You'd love to ask the hard questions.
Michael Jackson. His unexpected death shocked the world in 2009, but he continues to thrill audiences with his Cirque Du Soleil show, Michael Jackson 1, at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. The show, which premiered in June, is already the most popular show in Vegas. So how can Michael Jackson 1 director Jamie King and his team do a live show that meets the perfectionistic standards of Jackson? After all, he was the mastermind behind that elaborate concert exit in which fans saw him take off from the stage with a jetpack strapped to his back. I sat down with Jamie King to get an inside look at the Michael Jackson 1 show and the young kid and rabid Michael Jackson fan who went from Madison, Wisconsin to touring the world with the king of pop. And now, doing a show that he always hoped that his teacher, Michael Jackson, would be proud of.
This has got to be a heavy burden for you because Michael Jackson was a perfectionist. You worked with him on the Dangerous Tour. How long did you work with him? 2 years?
You're taking me way back, huh? I was, yes, it was my kind of biggest and also kind of my last job as a dancer. It's kind of like after you tour the world with Michael Jackson on a tour, it's like, what more can you do as a dancer? You've really accomplished, at least in my view, I felt like I accomplished everything. But it was 1992. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, and my dream was to one day dance and be on stage with Michael Jackson. And that dream came true when he hired me as one of the 4 backing dancers on the Dangerous Tour. And that lasted for about 2 years.
So basically you handpicked all of the dancers for this one. And I refer to them as dancers, but when you see Cirque Du Soleil, they're really more like athletes, right?
Yeah, we say performers or artists here because it's a combination of dancers and all kinds of cirque artists, which can be anything from, juggling to, you know what's in the circus and what's in the cirque world. It is kind of the best of the best in terms of artistry and performance.
Meet the family.
So these are our performers, our children who get on that stage every night. There's over 65 or around 65 of them that get on stage every night and embody the spirit of Michael Jackson.
I think Michael Jackson was really into the circus, right? So he probably would have wanted to do this.
I heard he was a big fan of Cirque du Soleil, and Cirque du Soleil a big fan of Michael Jackson, so it made sense the collaboration would happen. For sure, and certainly knowing what we knew of Michael's world, it was always larger than life and fantastical and dreamy, and everything he did on stage was, in a way, Cirque-like. Cirque du Soleil itself is a maverick, a leader in their field, and so was Michael.
And what we're finding now is posthumously, Michael Jackson continues to sell. He's bringing in more and more young people. The new generation is really into his music. Are you seeing that here with the show too? Are they people of all ages?
Yeah, and new fans, right? It's cool, seeing the show so many times. It's so gratifying to see. Certainly the fans are there, and Michael has so many fans, so the fans are in the audience. But now there's new fans appearing. I can see because the kids are young. And they don't know Beat It, Thriller, Billie Jean. Yeah. They weren't around for that, but they're getting it, through this show and seeing it with their parents and getting a new look with it, and also I think feeling the energy of what it was from some of us older people in the audience.
Can you give us a story that you haven't told before about your time with Michael or what you remember of him?
You'd love to ask the hard questions. It was like going to the school of Michael Jackson for me, because in my work with all the artists that I get to work with, Madonna, Britney, Rihanna, Christina, so on and so forth, Mariah, I really take what I learned from Michael about putting on a great show, and as a director for these other artists, I do take that energy and inject it into those shows. So that's part of the story that I take with me. But on a more personal note, it's the little things, like when Michael would come to rehearsal and he would learn all the steps before everybody else.
Let's do it one more time.
Like, he was just so quick with it, I guess because he had been doing it since he was so young. So he would learn all the steps and then he would just tell jokes. And it was just odd for me, being such a huge fan growing up, to watch Michael Jackson go from, like, so serious, hitting every move, just, serious face and in it being Michael Jackson, but then flip and just start telling jokes and being funny. And it's just so strange to watch. So for me, that's kind of a story that people don't know, that Michael was a jokester, that he was playful, and that he liked to have a good time.
Well, I assume that he was able to joke because you must have nailed your moves, because he seems like the kind of guy who, if you didn't have it together, there was no time for joking.
I remember, yes, very specific times where, where we had to kind of one by one do certain moves in front of Michael, just to make sure we were doing it, correctly, and that he signed off on it and that it was up to his standards. But he's a perfectionist, and that's why he was Michael Jackson. The biggest, greatest entertainer in the world.
What was it like to be on tour with him? Did you get much access to him, or was he kind of separate from the dancers and everybody who worked from him?
I mean, at that time in the Dangerous tour, I think he was just, he had toured so many times before. It was kind of, get on stage, do what he had to do, and then he was out. But certainly our interactions would happen during rehearsal. Anytime we did award shows together during that time, we did the Super Bowl together. So in those moments, and then also the prayer circle before stage, those are the times, those are the cherished moments.
So
that were
he would
shared
have
with
everyone
Michael.
pray.
Yeah, together. We would do a circle, an energy circle before each show.
Did it affect you as a kid from Madison? By the way, I went to University of Wisconsin.
Okay, right on.
So I know Madison very well.
Sure.
And I know Madison. I mean, I know going from Madison to going to dancing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That just must have been an incredible experience for you.
Really, I mean, for me, really just a dream come true. Like, it was, one of those things. I went from, having Michael Jackson all over my walls and going to school dressed as Michael Jackson and being so terrorized and tortured and bullied about it, in Madison, Wisconsin.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, because I had the Jerry curl, the big shoulder pads. I mean, it was, I wasn't in a music video. I was.
A cheese head doesn't fit well over a Jerry curl.
The two don't really work together. But certainly very humbling being able to then, be given the opportunity to work with my favorite artist.
Where were you when you found out about Michael passing, and what was that day like?
I was in London. I was directing Madonna's Sticky and Sweet tour, and we were at the same arena where Michael was going to be performing his first concert at O2 Arena. And we were readying our shows for Madonna to perform there. And so I was in London and I got all these calls after rehearsal. I saw it on my phone, and it was just blowing up on it. So I didn't return anything until I got back to the hotel in London. And I called my friends, and they're saying, turn on the TV. And that's what I remember, is seeing, everyone go to the hospital and, kind of all the backstory of what was going on there. And it was kind of disbelief is what I remember. But then for me, and especially, for Madonna in that moment, our conversations were about how do we now pay tribute to this great artist in her show. And so we put a little tribute the next day, or maybe the day after, in her show for Michael.
Is it difficult now to see, to hear so much about all the different news around him, or because you're in a situation where you're paying tribute and you're just focusing on the legacy?
100%. That is the focus. I mean, it's really the love of Michael that we all know, that we all really felt, that we all experienced growing up through his music and through his artistry, his music videos, all of that. I mean, that is really the message for me that I inject, really, or the energy that I inject into this presentation here of Michael Jackson 1,
right.
The positivity of it. Certainly, we in our show, and you'll see if you're watching it tonight, you'll see that there is, there is that dark side, which is, the rumors, the media, the tabloidy idea. But in the end,
I'm glad you put that in.
Yeah, but in the end, because it exists, and it's something that Michael also played with, in his career. He did work with the media for certain sensational things, and I think he had fun with it. But the media can do great things. It can also sometimes do not so great things. But in the end, it's really about our perception and that love that really conquers any kind of negativity.
How do you deal with criticism?
When I toured with him, I know that no matter what anybody said around him, no, you can't do that. No, you can't have a guy fly off a stage in a jetpack. No, you can't. That's unreal.
That's so funny. We just talked about that with David Copperfield
oh,
today.
Yeah? Yeah.
About that very thing.
But it's that kind of perception of like, and Michael, and I thank, really thank him that I, was able to experience this, because it really did help me. It was fuel for creating a show about him, which is that you don't listen to negativity. You don't ever let no factor into your equation. You go for what you feel and know and believe is right. And so he instilled that in me because I watched him live that kind of lifestyle.
The one thing that I've read about Michael and I've heard people say is that he didn't really allow the financial limitations or the budgetary aspects of the planning to limit him. That if he had an idea, like flying off stage
Yes.
in the jetpack, that he went and did it.
Yes.
Did you have that kind of freedom, or were you limited financially by what you could do?
Well, we do have a budget. Cirque du Soleil, as they're producing the show, mounting the show, creators with me, they do have a budget perspective. But
how did you get around that?
I love that. Because you got to kind of, let's just say I just like to push. I like to push. I think we did good though. I think in terms of we respected what the budget needed to be, but none of us ever wanted to create a show that was based on a number as much as respecting that we knew we had a number that would make sense for the show, but it was really about what would Michael have done. And we just wanted to accomplish that and carry on his legacy, because Michael was always pushing the envelope in terms of art or performance. So we really wanted to make sure that we did respect that.
Can you give me one or two examples of something in the show that Michael would have done? That Michael is looking down from heaven and he's smiling and saying, "Oh man, you guys did that. Crazy."
I think he'd really be proud of Thriller. It's one of my favorites in the show, and I want you to see it. I don't want to give it away, but I think
give it away.
No, I mean tonight you'll see. But it's about taking what we know of the iconic visuals that are Thriller, and my job was to take it to a 2014, 15, 2027, if you will, version of what it could be. And with Cirque, that makes it a little bit easier because we have the capability to fly and moonwalk on walls and have ghouls really arrive from all around you as opposed to just dancing on stage.
How competitive was it for the young people that ended up getting selected to be in this show? And what does this do for their careers?
Well, I think they know, I think that all of our performers know the responsibility, as I do myself, that it is to carry on Michael's legacy in Michael Jackson 1, to perform for them every night on the stage in the spirit of Michael. I think they know the responsibility that it is.
But what about the opportunity that it poses?
I think they're excited about their future because this show is a success. People are coming to see it, and more importantly, they're coming and loving it, and they're spreading the word. So as a result, the artists are getting seen, and they're really the stars of the show now. Michael is the star, but they're the co-stars. So they're getting recognition for their artistry through Michael and his music. So I think for them, it's going to provide opportunities for their future. I just don't know if they're going to want to leave this show ever. So I think as long as people want to come see the show, they're going to want to stay in it because they love it.
Is there an end for the show, or right now?
When you stop buying tickets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could go on and on.
This is Michael Jackson 1's permanent home is here.
How many people auditioned? Did you hold?
We had castings really globally. I mean, we have in our cast, there's, we have Latin America is covered, we have Korea, we have Japan, we have China, we have Puerto Rico, we have from all over the United States. There are performers from all of really globally. And that's the way that I believe that Michael would have wanted it. He also was, very inspired by performers from around the world. Certainly he used that as references in his own choreography and costume and styling and things that he would create. So, and then you go back to the song Black or White, that is a Michael message in the way of unifying and bringing people together from around the world who you wouldn't necessarily expect to be together. So our cast reflects that.
What do his kids think of the show? Have you had a chance to talk to them?
I haven't talked to them. I've seen them at the show. I've just seen them watching the show.
Do you think that this show, because they didn't really get to see him perform, still, as they started to get old enough to comprehend just how massive their father's name was globally across the world and what their father's name meant, how did they react to seeing?
I just hope, I don't know for sure, but I hope that they are proud of what we were able to accomplish here in Michael Jackson 1. I hope that they are inspired. I hope that they are moved by the visuals they see here at Michael Jackson 1, and I hope that they feel a bit of their father, or a lot of their father, when they watch the show.
The family was here, right?
Yes.
Have they? What was that like?
At both Immortal and here at Michael Jackson 1 premiere, the family's always been very supportive, and they've always appeared. So.
And so
always leave with smiles.
What was that? Did you get to talk to them, or?
At Immortal, I did. Here, there was just so much going on that we passed each other. But I did receive a beautiful message from Jackie Jackson after, because I didn't see him here at the premiere, just saying how happy he was about the show. So it's nice, and certainly I saw his mother and his children have smiles on their face, and to me that's everything.
What about John Branca, who is over the estate?
Mm-hmm. John Branca, my partner in crime, my brother. He
literally is your partner in this.
He
right?
really is, and I can't thank him enough, because it's really, he has been my biggest supporter, and really helped in terms of keeping that authenticity that is Michael, and making sure that the Michael messages and imagery and iconography live within this show.
Did you at any time bump heads, because you're more on the creative side of Michael, and then he's more on the business side?
See, I would beg to differ. I think John Branca, he might say this to you, that he's not creative, but I think he's an extremely creative guy.
I'm not saying he's not creative, but I've been in my fair share of boardrooms and cubicles, and I know the difference. And I'm also a musician, so I know the difference between.
Yeah, John Branca is not somebody you want to mess with in the business world, that is for sure, ever. But I also do believe he's not someone you want to mess with in terms of creativity either, because he had a real voice in this. He had a real presence. I mean, certainly both him and Guy Laliberté, the owner of Cirque, they both had their voice, but then also were respectful in the way of making sure that I was allowed and had space to create as a director what I needed to create and what I believed in for Michael Jackson 1.
And maybe striking that balance and straddling the creative, the abstract and the empirical was just part of working with Michael Jackson.
Yes.
You had to do that.
For sure.
So what is the partnership like between you and Branca?
I like to call him my brother. At this point, he's like my brother. After almost 3 years of working on both Immortal and Michael Jackson 1, at this point it feels like we're family, and I know I can go to him with anything when it comes to creativity or even legal advice at this point. But he's just such a great supporter, and again, I can't thank him enough. The estate has been so great in terms of the gift of allowing me this opportunity.
What does this mean for you as from a career standpoint? Because you have worked with Madonna and Rihanna and all of these people. So what do you do next? I mean, you've done a lot.
I do more. There's always more, and I love creating live shows and putting them together. Certainly TV, movies, but live is what I'm really about. And now I love theater. I had never done theater before. This is my first theater show, so I'm really excited about doing more.
More Michael Jackson things.
If the opportunity presents itself, I feel like Michael Jackson was my greatest teacher, and if I can continue to do work for him, with him, by his side, on his behalf, in his name, I would love it.
Jamie King, keep up the good work, brother.
Thank you.
I'm excited for the show.
Yeah.
And I want to see you do more.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And with Jamie King, I'm Lee Hawkins. We'll see you next time.
I love you.
The most telling symbol of this family's spiritual conviction was actually a note that was published on the back of the program for the service, written by Sissy Houston to Whitney.
That's not my objective in life, to break my neck to become a wealthy man in life. I have so many other obstacles I want to overcome as far as being a better husband, a better father, and more responsible in just in my whole everyday barometer.